The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in different parts of the world. This is Krishna Vedula from UMass Lowell and IUCE from the East Coast of the United States. We are delighted to have this webinar from a team of experts from Siemens and related organizations. The talk is providing a PLM course for academic organizations and worldwide. And the speakers are Jennifer Bradford, John Stark, and Korhan Sevenler. The details of the abstract, you've all seen the announcements, and then we have the speakers. There's Korhan, there's John, and then there is Jennifer. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand this over to Jennifer and let her drive the presentation. Here we go. Jennifer, you can click on my screen again.
All right.
Yep, perfect.
All right. So thanks so much, Krishna. We really appreciate this opportunity. We're looking so forward to providing this course out there into the world. Providing a PLM course for academic organizations worldwide. It's what we're going to talk with you a bit about today. Dr. Sevenler and Dr. Stark created this curriculum based on some need that we perceive in the market, and we're going to talk a bit about that. So let me figure out how to move forward. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our Global Academic Partner Program. John and Korhan will introduce themselves and talk about how they met, how this project came to be, common findings in the course, the current environment and scope of PLM. Then we'll dig a little bit into the course itself and the content, the course overview week by week, conclusion, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers from the audience as well. Is my mic level okay? Can you hear me all right?
Perfect.
All right. So my name is Jennifer Bradford. I'm the program manager for curriculum and certification for Siemens Digital Industries Software Global Academic Partner Program. That is a mouthful. So essentially what that means is that I work to ensure that our partner universities to whom we make grants of software have everything that they need, not only to learn how to use that software and for their students to learn how to use that software, but to ensure that it's easy to bake the software right into the curriculum. Everybody's got their hands full teaching the basics when it comes to engineering and teaching the required courses. We don't have time, obviously, in the curriculum to put courses devoted solely to teaching a single tool. So we're committed to developing curriculum that weaves the tools right into the course itself. And that's how we came to be working with Dr. Stark and Dr. Sevenler. So from Siemens' perspective, digitalization is changing all areas of life. The way I read my news this morning when I was drinking my coffee, the way we travel and book our travel, the way we buy things, and of course, the way we make things. It's also changing total business models. So if you think of something like Uber, Airbnb, or even Tesla, the pace of innovation and the ability to disrupt are key success factors for global businesses. Products and the factories that produce them continue to become smarter and more complex. Rapidly advancing digital technology is driving innovation everywhere, especially in electronics and software. Next generation smart products, complex systems of systems that require a new approach to development. The key to being able to innovate and remain competitive is to take advantage of the technology trends transforming industry and shaping the digital enterprise. We've got to prepare future engineers to innovate and disrupt digital enterprises. Academic institutions have to provide industry-driven curriculum and challenging real-world experiences, and we are here to help with that. So the information here that I'm going to share comes from the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report from 2018. So 38% of businesses surveyed expect to extend their workforce to new productivity enhancing roles, and more than a quarter of them expect automation to lead the creation of new roles in their enterprise. By 2022, which is only 2 years away. According to the stated investment intentions of companies surveyed for this report, 85% of respondents are likely or very likely to have expanded their adoption of user and entity big data analytics. Similarly, large proportions of companies are likely or very likely to have expanded their adoption of cloud computing or of technologies such
Are you reading
as,
from a slide, Jennifer?
I'm sorry?
We're not able to see that slide. Are you reading from a slide, those statistics?
No, I'm showing a slide that has people sitting at desks.
Okay, got it. Okay. Keep going, no
Okay.
problem.
So I was saying by 2022, according to what companies have stated in this survey, 85% are likely or very likely to have expanded their adoption of user and entity big data analytics. Similarly, large proportions of companies are likely or very likely to have expanded their adoption of technologies like IoT, app and web-enabled markets, and to be making really extensive use of cloud computing. Machine learning and augmented and VR are also poised to receive very considerable investment over the next couple of years. So these are the things that it's going to be incredibly important for new graduates to understand at a deep level when they enter the job market. That same study tells us that 133 million additional new roles may emerge that are more adapted to the new division of labor between humans, machines, and algorithms. This isn't a way that we've seen the workforce split and working together before. So again, this is a new way that students will need to be prepared to approach work. The prediction from this report from the World Economic Forum is that between 2018 and 2022, we'll see a 42% shift in the skills that are required to perform most jobs. That's phenomenally significant if you think of the history of industry over the span of the last 150, 200 years even. So there's a huge pressure on our customers as Siemens to develop new products. They need less time, less cost, but a lot more innovation to do what they're doing. So to do this, we've got to break down those boundaries, provide for more engineering time, less time to market. Total digital representation of a product is the disruptor, single source of truth that matures concurrently across the whole process from ideation to manufacturing to usage. Engineering education also has to represent this integration of phase and of thought. So these old rigid labels are dissolving: CAD, CAE, EDA, CAM to some extent. Sorry, John and Korhan, even PLM. These distinctions don't exactly reflect the boundaryless nature of innovation and the way that engineers are thinking about innovation. Engineering education has to also reflect this change. Transformative business value of PLM, of these technologies to create, to visualize, analyze, and simulate products and processes in our production process can only be realized by dissolving the boundaries between them. So we are committed to empowering the next generation of digital talent through a global strategic initiative. We have an academic partner ecosystem that empowers more than 1 million future engineers and technologists at more than 3,000 academic institutions globally to provide a strong pipeline of talent to our more than 140,000 commercial customers. Our global partner program includes, of course, industrial strength software covering the entire value chain. Our digital innovation platform provides industrial strength software to improve mechanical, electrical, software education, best practice curriculum, which we're going to talk about today, for project-based learning that improves the cross-disciplinary theory and application in systems engineering and additive manufacturing, real-world STEM competitions and projects. I'm sure some of your students are involved in Formula Student or perhaps EcoCar. We're very committed to supporting those real-world competitions because we know they provide the experience in problem solving, teamwork, project management, product costing, manufacturability, everything that goes into engineering workplace need. And finally, a comprehensive online training and resource center for students and faculty that provide additional tools, project-based learning. These are going to expand students' access to knowledge about the applications, but also practice and application as well. So the way that we deliver this is a platform called Learning Advantage. Our goal is to partner with academic institutions, students, industry, customers to help future engineers prepare for Industry 4.0 through a comprehensive solution of tools, technical expertise, strong industry collaboration. So Learning Advantage is our customer-facing learning portal. It's one of the ways that we support that goal. Learning Advantage is always free for our academic partners. This is the same learning portal that our customers pay to access, so it's full of great information. I need to update this slide. It's actually got now over 5,000 learning assets. They've been adding new assets at a furious pace. The UI is really easy to use, gratefully for educators and administrators. It's got fantastic reporting functionality. There are so many learning assets for our most popular courses, as well as a special academic resource center that's available and visible only to our academic partners, not visible to our industry partners. So the Academic Resource Center was custom built exclusively for academia. It's kind of a portal within a portal. The idea is that in addition to all of the learning assets available throughout Learning Advantage that really address the software, kind of the picks and clicks, if you will. The thinking is that you guys, our academic partners, want material that explains broader topics in engineering, like, for example, PLM that we'll talk about today, but also model-based systems engineering and additive manufacturing and IoT. So to that end, we work really closely with academics, professors, for example, Dr. Stark and Dr. Sevenler, as well as our internal subject matter experts and folks in our product and industry teams to develop these comprehensive curricular materials that demonstrate industry trends and engineering concepts within the context of Siemens real-world software. So I'm going to turn it over without any more chatter to Dr. Sevenler and Dr. Stark, and they can tell you a bit about the software that, or I'm sorry, about the curriculum that they've developed and how that can be used in the classroom. John and Korhan, take it away.
Thank you, Jan. I hope you can all hear me. Jan did a great introduction for what we are going to say next. As you will see, though, our slides won't be as polished and nice as Jan's. First, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, and Jan will say about himself a couple words. I came to US in 1978. After my graduate studies, I started working at a research lab called Batal Memorial Institute. And then I worked around 23 years at Xerox. That's where I got to know predecessors of Siemens and some other companies that sell PLM software. After I retired from Xerox, I was thinking about what I can do next. During my career, I noticed that PLM is a difficult area, and to find knowledgeable people in product lifecycle management or these kind of initiative areas is very difficult. So I started a course at RIT, and I'm a semi-retired visiting professor there. And John is going to say a couple words about himself next.
Thank you, Korhan. So I am based in Geneva, Switzerland. and I started off in England. I was at Imperial College in London, and from there I came to Geneva. I also worked at Battelle Memorial Institute, which is in Geneva as well. I later on became a consultant. I work quite a lot as a consultant now, and I also work at the PLM Institute in Geneva. I've written a few books and I give some courses on PLM. Okay, Jen?
Next slide,
Okay, Jen?
please. Thank you. Now, a little bit background about how this course idea came together. I started teaching a class, as I said, 2014, as a small, around 6 students I would select. I did for a couple years, and I was using John's book. As he said, he had written, in my mind, the best books in this area. And then 2018, I opened this class for the 2 colleges, College of Engineering and College of Engineering Technology at RIT. I have students around class sizes 36 1 year, 25 or 26 1 year. And I noticed that not only I'm very excited about this course, but most of the students were very excited about the course. And John had a similar parallel experience, and he'll tell you about it.
I started a little bit earlier than Kohan in 2012, and we started by developing a classroom course, which is mentioned there, participation in a PLM initiative. But then we got a bit limited in Geneva because it's a relatively small city. And also it's quite difficult for students to attend a classroom course, students from industry, a course of this length. This course was about 140 hours, which comes out to something like 15 days. So for people from industry to come in for 15 days is a bit difficult. So we then started moving on towards online courses, which we started in 2016. And we now have 2 online courses, and they've been followed by about 60 people around the world: Japan, Brazil, Russia, US, different countries in Europe. And as Korhan was saying, the students always seem to be saying there is a need for a course like this, and then when they come to the course, they find it very valuable. Next, please, Jen.
So our common findings at the end was, as Jen explained, technology is advancing very fast, and it's highly difficult to find a workforce that's knowledgeable in product lifecycle management. We can find very good mechanical engineers, we can find very good software engineers, but it's rather difficult to understand people that can understand product lifecycle in general and how to be successfully deploying such initiatives in a corporation. And this will be more apparent to you during the next slides, what we teach. But also you can tell that there is such a need is not only these companies, the vendors have very extensive training organizations, but there are huge consulting companies right now who are charging very expensive courses to companies today. So we believe that there was a big need to develop this course, and John and I, we got together and wrote a proposal for Siemens. Next slide, please, Jen. The package is called Business Value of PLM because in the last years, the focus has been people don't understand the business value of PLM. Engineers understand PLM, manufacturing people understand PLM, but the executives, the people who are in finance, don't realize what's the business value. the way this was developed, that some faculty, such as some of you who are teaching classes in product development, manufacturing, systems engineering, could be able to take this class and possibly teach yourselves. And this class is now available through the Siemens' Learning Advantage program, as Jen explained. Next slide. Now, Jen gave a really good introduction about the new technologies. Now, if you have worked in companies today, as I did for many years, you'll find out that they are squeezed between new technologies, changing global economic forces, and at the same time, they are struggling, really struggling. I can tell you not almost, every company I've visited, they have legacy processes or legacy systems or legacy data, and it's not easy to be successful without streamlining all these processes, systems, and data. And we just put a reference here from SimData. You can read this yourself, but it is stressing the importance of having educated people in PLM and the lack of such education in today's universities. Next slide, please. I want to say a couple of words about what we mean by PLM. There are two slides here. This table from John's book, I really like, because it's a nice overall look at product development and manufacturing. At the bottom, you see the different stages of a product's life cycle. And then if you look at the rows that I put scope of PLM on the left, we talk about in this class business processes, product data, PDM systems, product data management systems, and we talk about other PLM applications. As you see in the next slides, we talk about some other topics too, but the scope of PLM can be seen like this. Now, if you look at the overall structure of our course, it's a 15-week, one semester course. We have PowerPoint slides for every course. You'll see some examples for each week. This is an in-class course. It can be taught as a bachelor's or graduate class, and it could be taught at some level, definitely in community colleges for a certificate. It's a overall, we expect 45 contact hours with the students, and I said in US it's a 3-credit course, and in Europe it's a 5 ECTS credit course, comparable. We'll show you some of the examples of the 15 weeks. You will have all the slides for these 15 weeks, as well as the exams and the homeworks. And the book we follow is John's book. I really think this is a great book. And for some universities like RIT, it's available through the library, the ebook version. Next slide, please. So overall, the 15-week structure is seen here. We start with the introduction to the course, and then we describe the state the companies are in today. Then we focus on business processes, the applications, the systems, many of them. Focus on product data, Then the systems that manage product data management, and application lifecycle management systems, hardware, software. It's still separate today. We talk about methods. Sometimes this is taught into product development classes or systems engineering classes. Then we have an exam. This is the midterm. Then in the second part of the class, we talk about Internet of Things, Industry 4.0. Now, this is the part in my class, I bring some visitors. This is an option for you too. If you teach this class, you can invite someone who is an expert in this area too. The 11th week, we focus on PLM and executives, because to be successful in deployment of PLM, the relationship of the executives with the initiative is very important, and how that balance can be achieved, top down and bottom up. We spend the whole week on the PLM initiative. These are complex program management initiatives, and we emphasize what's good, what's easy, what's not. We focus on organizations change management, PLM in practice, and the last week, which is a review. I maybe spent too much time on this because next we'll have a slide on each of these. So the first 2 weeks, as I said, it's an introduction to the state the companies are in today and what we mean by PLM. The next slide, please. Business processes, as you know, is extremely important for company success. We start from the high-level corporations, top business processes such as ERP, product lifecycle management, global supply chain, customer requirements management, and then we dive into product lifecycle management and dive further down, talking about the process architecture, how we do process mapping, process modeling, etc. Next slide, please. I want to go a little bit fast so you can have a good time for questions at the end. As many of you know, PLM applications is a huge area, and it's becoming huger every month. When I was at Xerox, there was not a single person in Xerox who would understand the scope of all the systems we use. And then I was working with Siemens and other companies that are vendors. Then I find out that even in those companies, there wasn't anyone who could understand the scope of all these systems. So we explain them again, top down, how we can categorize these applications as types, grouping of the applications. Then we focus on some frequently used PLM applications with examples. And the most importantly, the last bullet here, we talk about the pitfalls where people usually fail in implementing these applications, and some of the success factors, our own experience, what works and what doesn't work. Next slide, please. As I mentioned to you, processes, business processes is one key pillar of product lifecycle management. Another important pillar is product data. PLM is a data-driven approach, sometimes we say. And as people who worked in any corporation, they appreciate the importance of product data, the volume of product data, and how different product data is from financial transactional data. And we talk about metadata, and we dive into the specific product data management aspects, where the real difficulty in product data is always in the details. We talk about product data modeling and give also in this class the experience we have in product data and data migration issues. Next slide, please. John, I forgot now if I'm explaining this one too, or if I'm letting you go through this one.
Okay, I will do this one.
I think here I stop.
So this is week 6. This one is looking at product data management systems and application lifecycle management systems and PDM system selection. So over there in the top right, we have the data that needs to be managed by a PDM system, a system like Teamcenter, because there is so much data and it comes in huge volumes, in many versions, it's in different life cycle states. It could be under development, released, being changed, archived, and it's really difficult to manage this when you're talking about terabytes of data. So these systems like Teamcenter become very important. And on the other side, for the electronics data, that's the application lifecycle management system, like Polarion, that has a similar role with its features of managing the data. So we talk about the 2 types of systems there, and we talk about different ways that people go about implementing these systems, such as the waterfall and the agile approaches to implementation. And we give an example of a PDM system selection and implementation in a company. Next one, please, Jen. And then we have a week when we talk about methods. You may be wondering what methods means, but it's all of these things that often have 3-letter acronyms. So you have a DFM for design for manufacture, and DFA, design for assembly, DFR, design for recycling, early manufacturing involvement, EMI, concurrent engineering, simultaneous engineering. These are all ways that companies try to organize themselves to do things better. But from the PLM point of view, when they do that kind of thing, they are in a way putting themselves at danger of conflicting with what is in the business processes that they've defined. And then these methods, they produce data, and that data has to be stored somewhere in a data management system. And the methods sometimes have a system, an application that comes with them. So that has to fit into the architecture, the overall product-related applications. So all these methods are quite simple in themselves. When you start putting them all together and fitting them in the overall environment, it's very important to understand what they're all doing. Next one, please, Jen. Now we come on to Internet of Things, which you know about. And these days, everything is connected to the internet, starting by your computer. But once your computer is connected, any other product can become connected as well. So any other product could be the toaster when you're having breakfast, or it could be your heating system when you come home, or it could be an engine on an aircraft. And all of this involves a lot of sending control signals to the controllers on these products and getting data back from them coming over the internet. And all of that can be handled by an IoT platform that you see up in the right-hand corner. For example, Siemens system is called MindSphere. So we're talking about what is going on in the Internet of Things and how a company can actually make it work. And then we talk about some of the benefits and what some of the issues are and some of the success factors. Next one, please, Jen. Week 10, we're into Industry 4.0, the 4th Industrial Revolution. It's this convergence of the physical and virtual worlds that Jen was talking about before. We're going into this digital world in which all parts of the company, marketing, engineering, logistics, manufacturing, maintenance, the suppliers, the customers, everything is come together in this, this big network. But when you start looking in detail, you see that there are many technologies in there. There is, how do you make a smart product? What are the devices that are needed to make a smart product? How do the connected products work with the IoT and the IoT platforms? Big data, robotics, digital twin. So in this part of the course, this is a 3-hour session. We go through all of the background to Industry 4.0, the technologies, and then how that is applied in a particular company. Next, please, Jen. As Korhan mentioned, this week is about the executives, because they have a very important role to play, because they're the ones who look after the money. So they're the ones who are going to finance the PLM project. And if they don't understand PLM, you know, it's unlikely that they're going to finance the project. And if they don't understand PLM, there's always the danger that they will stop the project before it's achieved its objectives. So this one here is about what their roles are and the topics they look at. For example, the financial justification of the initiative. Next, please, Jen. This one is about the initiative. So it's going through the different steps. Here in the second, the slide there at the bottom left is talking about the building blocks. So companies might develop a PLM strategy. They will describe their current situation, what they have in the way of data and systems and processes. And they'll develop a strategy and a plan. And the more you look at this PLM initiative, the more you see there are many, many steps. They might do a feasibility study. They might decide to start educating their people about PLM. They want to do a financial justification, and then they do a status review. So there are really many, many things happening in this PLM initiative, and we describe them in this 12th week of the course. Next, please, Jen. As Korhan mentioned, now we're talking about organizational change management, because PLM is a huge change for any company. We could be bringing in new PLM applications. We could be changing business processes, introducing new documents, changing people's roles and responsibilities, changing the organizational structure, structuring the products differently. So it's a lot of change, and there's always a danger with change that there will be resistance to change, that people won't want to do that change. And organizational change management is the part of the PLM initiative that is aimed at overcoming that resistance to change and making sure that the project runs efficiently and effectively. Next, please, Jen. So here we have week 14. This is the PLM in practice. And what we have here is we have case studies from different companies. We have one, I'll just tell you its name. It's called PLM Using Blockchain Technology, Experience from the Automotive Ecosystem. So that's one from the automotive industry. There's another one that's looking at product usage information to optimize the product lifecycle in the clothing and textiles industry. So that's the one from another industry. There's one developing the requirements of a PLM ALM integration. That's a case study from a company that makes connectors. So there's the mechanical part and the electronic and electrical part of the connectors. And next one, please, Jen. Oh, Korhan, is this back to you now? No, seems to be with me. So in conclusion, just in summary of what we've been talking to you about, we explained to you why we thought the course was needed. We've spoken to you about the course content and discussed the topics of the 15 weeks. We think we have a complete course package here because we have the course content, we have the PowerPoints. I think there are about 1,200 PowerPoint slides altogether for the course. We have the midterm and the final exams, and we also have multiple choice questions and answers at the end of each weekly course. So one interesting thing for us is to know if any of you will be interested to learn more about the course, and we will be very willing to help you to start teaching the course. Back to you, Jen. Or to Korhan perhaps.
Korhan. Okay, go ahead, Korhan.
Well, I don't have much to add to the final thoughts, the conclusion. I think we can entertain if you have any questions.
Sure, we will definitely have questions. I'm sure we have more than 60 people here with us. So I'm going to request all those who are here to send text messages. And if you want to speak, you can always unmute you. So let me know by a text message that you want to speak, make a comment or so. This is all very exciting to me. This is fantastic that you have such a well-organized, very mature, based on lots of experience. And I think this is fantastic. We have more than 60 people, mostly academics from different parts of the world with us today. And I'm quite sure that many of them would be very much interested in learning more about the course and how they can teach it in their institutions. Before I start talking to the audience, let me just say hello to Dora, who is the director of global academic programs at Siemens. Dora, would you like to make a few comments, or would you rather remain silent?
Sorry, Krishna, I'm not at my desk. I'm mobile, so I won't make many comments, but just definitely want feedback from the educators listening in if they find this type of curriculum valuable, so we continue to make investments in this area. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dora, for all your support. Hans, over to you.
I want to thank all three of you for a very, very thoughtful.
And Dora is with us.
and of course, Dora, thank you for joining us. Just a couple of comments that I have. Number one, let us explore, Dora, in terms of how what you are doing can be shared in our forthcoming global conference in Cape Town. And let's find a creative way in which this experience can be shared with the community in November. That's one. Second, I'm in very close touch with close colleagues, partners in UAE. Given the current virus situation, as you know, there's a lot of online learning that has radically increased given this particular crisis. I'm just very interested, what are your thoughts about that and the kind of challenges and opportunities that bring? Let me stop here.
So this is Jennifer. I can actually talk a little bit about that. We feel like our online learning system, Learning Advantage, really has a key role to play here, both when you talk about using sort of a flipped classroom model, as well as in instances like this where it's not necessarily safe or feasible for everybody to get together. So for example, courses like this one, obviously the ideal scenario is where these slides are being used in a classroom environment with a professor or students, but these slides are all also available in a self-paced format on Learning Advantage, so that students would be able to go through week by week and see the slide decks as they would in the classroom. Obviously, that is not a substitute for a professor's expertise or lecture on this, but the material is there and certainly lends itself to kind of a blended or a flipped model, and that's true of all of our over 5,000 courses on Learning Advantage.
Great. Shall I read out some more questions? I have a couple of comments from Francisco Delgado. Francisco, I've unmuted you if you want to speak, if you have audio. Otherwise, I'll read out your questions right now. He would like to see that week one a little bit more. Repeat the slide week one. Jennifer, could you go back to week one? I think he wants to see a little bit more about what's in week one. And then he has a follow-up question to that. Saying that do you think this PLM training is oriented to develop career opportunities for new consultants in PLM? Anybody want to take that?
The first part, was it to learn more about the content of week one?
Right, he wanted to know, Francisco, I think, wanted to see the slide to learn more about the content. And I think now that the slide is up, he's probably seen it. But I think his question really is about about this is a career opportunity for new consultants in PLM.
I will go first. I would say definitely yes. if you go to product development, manufacturing, or digital transformation type conferences, you will see that the number of consultants in the last years have increased tremendously. You know, it's not anymore Accenture, you know, the big ones, but like Calypso, there are lots of smaller ones, and there are even smaller than those. So I would say yes, and I'll let John to speak as well.
I think I would say yes as well. And there's perhaps just one thing I could add, is that you may have noticed in this presentation that we're not talking in detail about training people to use the applications. But Siemens has got many courses that do train people to use the applications. And in particular, there is one to use Team Center. And Jen is now preparing a next step in which the two courses will be linked together. And I think that would become very useful for consultants, because then they would see both sides of the picture. They would see the application, they would learn how to use the application, but they would also see how the application is being applied within companies.
Okay, question from Volkan Gundogdu. Volkan is asking, will the course be online, and could you please mention something about the cost?
Yeah, I can talk a bit to that. So the course certainly is online already on our Learning Advantage system. So for partner universities, so for our universities who have software licenses from Siemens, there is no cost for the Learning Advantage system. It's the same system that our customers use, no cost to academics. That being said, if you are not a member of an institution who already has Siemens software, or if you're an individual looking for memberships, those are available as well. And if you just search for Siemens Learning Advantage, you'll find first thing that comes up is a page that will allow you to actually purchase an individual membership. I do not recall the cost of those, but off the top of my head, I think it's on the order maybe of $250 for a membership, but for an individual. So again, if you have Siemens software in your institution, you are already eligible. And there's a link on one of the slides that I shared. I don't know, Krishna, will these slides be shared out with the audience, or?
Yes, I mean, the audience will all get recordings of the thing. And if you send me the slides, I can send the slides also to them.
Okay, we will certainly ensure that at least that slide with a link to registration instructions for all of our academic partners gets out there.
Okay, next question here from Shirish Mane from India. How would Siemens help education institutions to deliver this course at institutes in India? Would there be lectures that will be delivered by industry expert institutes, or is it so that's a combined delivery of course by faculty and industry experts? And saying related to that also is another question by Shwen saying, is this course available online? And so can you comment on the logistics of how faculty members sitting in one of the institutions saying, how do you sign up?
Yeah, again, I can certainly comment on that. So any institution who has a license with Siemens Digital Industries Software is eligible and is able to self-register excuse me, for Learning Advantage. I will be sending out a link to instructions on how to do that as a follow-up. I'll send that to you, Krishna.
Okay. This is from an institution in India, which is this Vinay Kulkarni saying we are running a 2-year postgraduate program, actually master's program on PLM and ERP, with special emphasis on PLM theory and lab courses split over 1 year time, covering 10 credits total. And they're just looking for some advice or suggestions from John and Korhan about what they're doing in their program. Any suggestions you have about how they can improve it, perhaps?
I would say the following. Since time is limited here, them or anyone else, we would love to hear from them. They can send us an email and we will definitely respond to them. And also to this question and the one before, we are working with Siemens right now with Jennifer and Dora to have a working group of similar-minded faculty to have a community of practice around PLM and how this course and similar courses could be promoted and taught together.
I think that's a great idea. I think having a community of practice, maybe some of the folks who are here today can join that community and carry this conversation forward in more detail. I think that's a fantastic idea. Thanks, John, for thinking about that, or Korhan. So, okay, then let's see. This cost, somebody was following up on the cost. Can you, Francisco, confirm, can you please confirm if the cost for individuals is $250? And how long is the loan applicable? How long is the membership applicable?
I cannot confirm that, but if you just type in the search bar Siemens Learning Advantage membership, you will be able to find that. I'm sorry, I'm focused more on the academic side.
No
I don't recall the individual side.
So this is Usman Sen, who says, I'm a Master of Science, Mechanical Engineering, and working in the PLM area. I got into PLM through working as a student at OEM in Germany. This kind of course is missing nearly in all mechanical engineering curriculums around the world, and I would really like to introduce this to my university. I guess that means, Usman, you might want to join this community of practice and see how to make that happen. Okay, there was no question at the end of that, so I'm just going to move on to the next comment. Whether I can know the future aspects of PLM with digital thread. Does that make sense, John or Korhan? PLM with digital thread?
I think
Yes.
it's, go ahead,
Go ahead, John. Please go ahead.
I think it's part of the PLM picture. It's part of the overall PLM picture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That we really try to focus on things that are very concrete. So one of the things that is concrete is the data, the product data, and you can look at the flow of product data through the life cycle as being part of the digital thread. But you can also look at the applications because they go through the product life cycle, and they should be integrated together to make a continuous digital thread. You can look at it from point of view of the business processes, throughout the product life cycle. You know, ideation, product definition, manufacture, service, end of life. All of those processes need to be connected together. So everything comes together in this digital thread, and it's within the PLM concept.
Okay, that was from Santosh. And next question is from Matthew. It says, what should be the background of the person who wishes to join the course? Would it be postgraduate? Mechanics? Question?
The way I teach it, because of the demand, I only teach it to graduate students, the way it's structured in my class. But we put this together, as I showed at the beginning. It could be taught very easily as an undergraduate class, and there is such a need from our dean right now, I'm thinking about. So it could be taught as both. As far as the background of the students, I would prefer engineering students, but I did accept some non-engineering students too. My suggestion would be the requirement would be engineering or the professor's decision. What do you think, John?
Yes, definitely. One thing we haven't touched on very much is also that the title of the course is Business Value of PLM. So during the weeks we are focusing off on you know, where the PLM applications and processes are providing value for the company. So it's important also for people who are taking business degrees, such as an MBA, you know, or a BA, to be taking this course, because they also need to understand what is happening in PLM to work within the company, not just on the technical side, but also what does this thing mean for the way the business is run in general.
Next comment here is back from Sven. I'm willing to promote this course in the universities in the Benelux. Let's please stay in contact. Okay, thank you, Sven. We'll make sure that you keep in touch. Francisco Delgado then says, is the PLM Institute providing postgraduate degrees in PLM, and how to get recognition worldwide?
I think that's a very good question. Postgraduate degrees. People often ask me, what are the postgraduate degrees in PLM? And I think there are quite a few masters now in PLM. And my feeling is that many of them are actually in India. Somehow, Europe and US seem to be a little bit behind on this. But in Europe, there are perhaps 4 or 5, of the main universities that provide masters in PLM. And I think I've only heard of actually 2 people doing PhDs in PLM. One of those was in Japan, and the other one was in France. But from the viewpoint of the academic world, PLM is something that is still very new, and there are not very many academic courses available. The course that we give from the PLM Institute is actually a fairly short course. It's 160 hours, so it doesn't lead to a master's degree. It leads to a certificate.
Okay, another question from Vinay Kulkarni, again from the institute, that Clearly Tech University in India, that is offering this 2-year master's program. He has his question. He says, is customization in PLM, does that need to be taught for students, or whether customization will exist in the future?
Yeah, because at the heart of PLM, we always have the product, and it's the product that gets customized. So, as we go through this course, we were talking about the product, but then in weeks 1 and 2, for example, we talk about what is inside a product. Right? There is the assembly, and then the sub-assembly, and then the parts. And then the issue comes up about how do you do customization, that you have to be modifying some of those parts, and you want to make that easy so that you can respond quickly to your customers with customized products. So the answer is definitely yes, it's part of PLM, and it's part of this course.
And just to add, I'm not sure if he meant exactly that, because customization in PLM could be understood as software customization, like the software we buy from Siemens, customizing it for our needs. So please write to us. We'll explain and talk to you more.
Okay. So Vinay, he thanks you for the comments, and I'm sure he will be in touch. Santosh comes back and says, what is the core usage of ARAS PLM software?
ARAS, I've never heard of that. It may be some very small competitor of Siemens, but we don't mention it usually.
Okay, and Santosh, you might want to clarify. That's about what you're talking about. Okay, great. So we have come to the close of some of the comments, and I think Hans would like to say something. And let's see, Hans, you want to make a comment or two?
No, I just want to thank you. This is a very, very thoughtful presentation. I would like to explore, particularly with Dora and of course Jennifer also, way we can bring your experiences to our global events. That's a very critical one. Also, you had mentioned the books, the various that you have written, John. Both of you gentlemen have mentioned that. I'd love to share that with our global community in our publication. If you could give us that okay to share that information about your books, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, then let's see if any of the folks have any closing comments. There's one quick comment came in just now from Robert Van Til. Will you take that to the last one, and then have some closing comments from the Siemens team, including Dora if she wants to say anything. But here the comment is, appreciate your work. This is from Robert Van Til. Appreciate your work to develop this course. Our PLM business process course is popular with our graduate students. Many are working full-time while completing the degree program. So that's just a comment that is given. So back to you folks. Jennifer, you and John and Korhan, any closing words, or even Dora? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to say thanks so much for joining us today. We are really excited to offer this course to our academic partners. I will send out some links to you and show you how you can get hooked up to Learning Advantage, where you can find this course in Learning Advantage. And of course, my contact information is on the screen. If you have any questions at all about Siemens Academic Partner Program, I would love to talk with you more. Thanks so much.
Okay,
Yes,
so
thank
with
you.
that, yeah, go ahead, John and Korhan. Yeah.
I just want to thank you and all the other participants.
Great,
Yes,
great.
and me too. Thanks very much. Thanks for participating.
And Dora, thanks for joining us. Jennifer, they have seen your email. Some of them have been asking for emails with other folks, but I guess if they email you, they will be able to send them the emails for John and Korhan if they haven't yet seen them in the introductory slides. And so I think there's a good potential for building this community of practice that that John and Korhan were talking about. There's some really people who have done some in-depth work in this area, people who are teaching courses, people in institutions which are having master's programs. I think it's fantastic. So good program, very, I really love the systematic way that you had this 1, 2, 3 thing figured out about speaking, the three of you. So it's fantastic. Thank you so much. And good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world, and see you some other time.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.